Hey folks, excuse me, it's Brian again. Hey, I had the opportunity in my continuing quest to spread Runequest throughout Northern Virginia to run a demo session of Runequest using the Stealing the Eye scenario that Chaosium developed and ran at Origins and Gen Con. It's a very short scenario, it's designed for 1 hour, maybe 2 if you expand it due to combat. And it's a simple break into the temple, steal the eye because the Lunar Empire is expanding the red line, the glow line, where they are able to maintain their magic despite the moon phase. Excuse me. And part of this whole scenario is to explain some of that kind of stuff, the whole mythosness of Glorantha and Runequest roleplaying in Glorantha. So that's how I started out, just talk a little bit about not the creation mythos, but the Lightbringers and the story. The players, there was one Glorantha initiate who mocked the war god initiate, and Glorantha, the storm god, the ruling god. Urmal, who's the trickster god, and Moran Gore, who is this destructive earth goddess. So we talked a little bit about those folks and Runequest in general, Glorantha. And in the Stealing the Eye scenario, there's a little 1.5 page write-up of all the things to cover about Runequest and how it's different and that kind of stuff. And so I just double checked through that as we were talking, make sure I covered all those parts. And then I threw out the map and we discussed about how they were sent by their clan to go to this earth temple that had been rededicated to Yara Aranis, one of the lunar goddesses. I forgot exactly what she's got up, but there's a statue, an idol, in the center of this temple that has 6 arms, and she's sitting down Indian style. 2 of the arms have got these giant scimitars, 2 are holding bowls of water, and 2 others are holding flowers. And when they get to the front of the temple, I've got a picture of, I forgot what it's called, but there's this temple, actually it's more like a church in the Middle East. It's been built into this cave wall, so it's been, the facade has all been carved out. So I had a picture of that to show them, to help get them a feel for things that are happening. I got a picture of the idol as well that I showed them. And their clan had gotten this map from an insider that shows, where the idol is, basic outline of the temple itself, the outer courtyard, the pool, and then the enclosed area that's been all fenced in. There's a priestess's house there, and there's a guard, not shack, more like a barracks, and a wagon, an outhouse, a pen for an ox, that kind of stuff. And a tower with a bell, and then the road, well, the gate and the road that leads down to a village down the bottom of the hill. So, and this is all just setting stuff. Well, the scenario starts with them already inside the fence line, heading up to the temple. And so I, talk them through that. And so we get to the front of the temple, and I lay out my panels. A buddy of mine got me some hex panels, dry erase marker on them. So I had the temple already all mapped out. So I lay the panels out and put them on the front of the door. What are you going to do now? And at this time and a couple other times later on, the players were just kind of quiet, not doing anything. I'm trying to prompt them here, prompt them there. What about this? Point them out on their character sheet, that kind of stuff. So I tried to talk through those dry spots, but there were, in my opinion, too many of those. But excuse me, those the players were actually a gaming group. One of the players had indicated earlier on Saturday that he was interested in coming. So there were 8 interested in coming to the second session. and 4 that were interested in the first session. Nobody showed for the first session, so I was able to do a lot of reading. Catch me up. I got a bunch of Glorantha books that I've picked up over Christmas that I'm going through. But they showed up right on time at 8 o'clock, and they come back. So their DM is playing, and then 1, 2, 3 other players are playing, and then one of the players was the wife of one of the other players. Just watch. She's like, I can just watch. It's not a problem. So we're all talking through. I don't really discuss much about commonality differences with like Dungeons and Dragons, the commonly known games, that kind of thing. I did talk about how Runequest is different from most games, the fact that it's skill based and run by your stats and that kind of thing. So I'll get a little bit of that out there. Talked about runes and spirit and rune magic. A little bit about combat with critical, specials, normal success, normal failure, and fumbles. And we talked about these things as they started to come up. So they get to the front of the temple, and she says about what are they gonna do, what they do, and so they ask about scanning the room, and so yeah, I give them a brief outline of the room and how it's shaped, that kind of thing, and the statue, and there's off on the side a little shrine, and so they eventually come in. They don't really search the room. Most of them go to the shrine to check it out, and they send the thief, the initiate of Ermal, the trickster god, to go and climb up the statue and pry out the eye, because they can see it's a huge opal. But it's kind of mortared in, so it takes some skill and dexterity and that kind of thing to do. They check out the shrine. The shrine is to the moon goddess. Describe it out. It's been carved on, and it's got silver inlay and that kind of stuff. And the stone is different than the stone of the room. Oh, and in front of the Yararanis idol is some offerings. There's a bowl full of blood with a calf heart floating in it. There's a brazier that's gone out that has a human arm in it, and some paper scraps that have been burned, and some wooden idol stuff that's been burned, that kind of stuff. So, and I put across this whole, when I did the mythos thing, part of that is the lunar goddess, the moon coming up, and the lunar empire spreading out, and how they worship demons, that kind of thing, to the bad guys. So the parts not really split because they're in the same room, right? But they're doing two different things. And as the thieves get ready to climb up the idol, there's since this is an earth goddess temple, there are earth spirits here, and there are ways for the Morangor initiate to invoke these earth spirits to help them, because the way it's written, well, I don't give too much away, but the spirits are there, and so we go through some skill rolls, how it's done, and about augmenting your skill rolls by using rune or passion. What's the word? You use your runes, inspire. There we go, inspiration. Using runes or passions to inspire your roll and that kind of thing. And the initiate does her inspiration thing, which goes off, helps them out, and then she makes a roll for her worship skill to invoke the spirits. She rolls really well on that, so that worked. And there's actually a modifier that if they haven't moved the moon goddess's shrine out, that there's this huge negative modifier for invoking the earth spirits. But she's successful in invoking the earth spirits. They do some things to help them keep the idol from coming alive. So they're checking out the shrine. They try to move it, and it's really heavy, so that doesn't do much good. But they can see that it's like covering a hole or something underneath. And then the thief climbs up. He does makes his roll. They simplify it to just one climbing roll to go up, try out, and climb down. He used a hook and grapnel, so I allowed them to use a Call of Cthulhu 7th edition game mechanic very similar to 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons for advantage, where you roll the tens die twice and take the best of the two. So I allowed him to do that, which was helpful because he missed his first roll. So he made his second roll and hits it, and he's coming down. And the spirits had kept the idol asleep until, you know, the opal's been taken out and is, you know, leaving the idol. You know, he's climbing down, he's getting off. So there's this dialogue piece about as he's starting to stuff up, it gets all really unstable because the statue's standing up and getting up. This thing is 6 meters tall, and so I've gone through. They use a gargoyle as the base for this idol creature, and they call it the 6-armed gargoyle. Well, it's obviously not a gargoyle. A gargoyle wouldn't just sit there, right? And so I've modified it a couple times. The first thing I did was look at the 6-meter giant stats, and so I changed her strength and size based on that. And then, you know, this is an idol. It's essentially a protection spirit for the temple. So I imbued it with a cult spirit. I used the allied spirit for the Rune Priest, Rune Lord as just a baseline. So it's got its own intelligence, power, and charisma. And I gave it more spirit magic spells because of that. I could have given it rune spells, but I didn't. Let's go back and look at that. So this idol is much more deadly than it's been designed for the thing, but I found that there wasn't really an issue with that. So the thief gets down and starts to run. The idol stands up, takes a whack at him, misses with the first hit. Yeah, hits him with the second. And it turns out that the character sheet's hit location chart is wrong. I guess I should look closer at the character sheets before we started to play, because there's a huge section of numbers that's just plain missing. So I think the head, arms, and legs are correct for numbers, but the chest, abdomen, and legs, head and arms is correct. The chest, abdomen, and legs are wrong. They're just skewed. And so when we rolled, what we thought was the abdomen, based on the thing, the chart, actually should have been his, I think it's left leg. But anyway, huge scimitar from this giant stone creature, right? And we talk about reactions to injury. He took 3 times his abdomen hit points plus its armor points. So it was exactly, so it's kind of cool about being able to talk that, you know, once you go through the armor, the rest of the hit points, the rest of the damage goes to your hit points, both to location and to your general hit points. And if you go over that location's hit points, it goes to 0, right? There are effects that occur. For example, if it's the abdomen or the legs, you fall down. If you go up to double, which is the maximum a limb can take, it becomes, well, essentially useless. But you start to bleed, you know, that kind of stuff. So things are happening that are consequences of that damage. And if you take 3 times hit locations, hit points, if it's a limb, it's irrevocably maimed or severed. If it's the head, chest, or abdomen, instant death. Well, it was exactly 3 times his abdomen's hit points, so instant death. What? He's dead? And then as the combat ensued and we had other hit locations going on, we realized the hit location chart was wrong, so we went back and, okay, he's not dead. He's unconscious and his leg's been maimed. And he's bleeding out. So the Earth Priestess girl, she goes around, well, she's digging through the hole. Oh, I went ahead of myself. Okay. So the Orlanth cultist, the light fighter, he summons an air elemental and sends it after the idol. Well, the idol is huge, right? 6 meters tall, made of stone. So the rules for the air elemental say that you can make a strength versus strength roll to keep from being picked up, which is what the element does. Elemental's combat actions are to pick you up, to bring you to the top of the air elemental, and throw you down. So you take a d6 of damage plus 1d6 for every 3 meters that you go. The small one's 3 meters tall, the second one's 6 meters tall, and the big one's 3 meters tall. Well, he summoned a big one, so he's got 9 meters tall. But this thing is 6 meters tall, so the most he could do is just pick it up 3 meters anyway, right? But it made no sense to me that it was strength versus strength. Strength versus size made sense to me. And I recall us using that when I ran the Broken Tower at Gen Con and Origins, because on occasion people would pull out a air elemental and try and pick up the bad guy in that one. And so GM call, strength versus size, and this thing is just too heavy to pick up. So he moves the air elemental over to the shrine of the moon goddess, is able to pick that one up, and then he moves it back over to the idol and throws the shrine onto the idol. And there's no mechanic for that, but I just treat it as normal, right? So I pick somebody up and drop it, and they take the damage. Well, since the height difference is only the 3 meters, we did the 3 meter damage, which was 2d6, and we roll for location, and he's doing some damage. He ends up hitting the legs a lot. Well, the guys on the ground also swarm around it. The guys, there's just the 2 other ones. Healer's trying to heal the guy. She's got the rune spell healing, pumps 6 points of mana or magic points into that heal spell. So a 6-point heal will reattach or heal a maimed limb. So they do that. He's still unconscious, but he's no longer bleeding out, and his legs been reattached. So she's doing that. The Glorantha guy is doing the whole Earth Elemental thing, and the other player's a initiative Hamacht, which is the death goddess, and so he's got some gifts and Gaiuses, whatever you call them, and he's also got a rune spell called True Sword. So I point that out because I saw that on his character sheet. I pointed that out, and True Sword allows you to do like double damage when you hit. It's a great offensive weapon skill spell. So he pulls out his broadsword and shield, and he does the True Sword, and he moves to engage. And now trying to figure out, how close we get, because at one point they're just moving part way. I'm not going all the way to either the Earth Elemental or to the guy who's down. Guys, you can move the whole distance. It's not a problem. Eventually, they get around him. The Glorantha guy pulls out his sword and shield, and he goes at the creature as well. And they're hacking away. And so since this thing is 6 meters tall, I use the giant hit location chart, which it means you only roll the first 10 locations, which are up to his abdomen, I think. Yeah, up to his abdomen. So his legs and abdomen is all you get to hit. And so they're wailing on his legs. After, I think it was just 1 hit, the Hamacht player notices that he's got a gift where his battle axe has been blessed and will do double damage on everything that gets through the armor. And the Glorantha shot an arrow at him at the idol once, and so they've hit this thing a couple of times and realized it's got a lot of armor. And it does got 6 points. Same as a plate. So they're swarming on it. The Hamacht guy decides to change. It goes to his 2-handed battle axe, which did a lot of damage in the first place. He ends up throwing a special hit on it, so it does all this massive damage and take out a leg. Meanwhile, the Earth Elemental is picking up that stone shrine to the Earth Goddess, and throwing it down on the golem, whatever, the statue thing. And he hits it in a couple other places, but again, they end up hitting the leg, so it goes down completely on one leg. And this is when the Hamacht guy got the special hit on the other leg. So the idol's down, it's got no use of either of his legs, but he can shift around. So he's at first he was just focusing on the air element because it was there in the way, and it's not going to go away, right? And since it does a lot of damage, another thing I did is I gave the idol, the spirit that's possessing the idol, Blade Sharp 2, which would increase his chance to hit, because this thing's got real poor chances to hit. It's like 25 for the base creature. After I made all of its modifications, it was up to 30. With Blade Sharp 2, that gives it 40. It's a 40% chance to hit. The players have all gotten the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So they're hitting all the time and have a pretty decent chance of getting a special. This thing doesn't even hit half the time, right? But he did get that one hit on the thief in that first round. Took him out. That was pretty cool. So he's fighting the air elemental and gets it down to just 2 hit points. And the healer girl, Morangor, she uses her rune heal spell and pumps like 9 points of magic points into the air elemental, so it's still alive. It's got 11 hit points now, but the idol eventually hits it enough that puts it out. It's gone. So she shifts and she's focused on the Humat guy because he's the one who's really doing damage. And that's when the other leg comes down. So at that point, you go, we need to split. And in fact, the entire time, the Moran Gore player was constantly harping, we just need to grab the idol and run, grab it and run, or grab the opal and run, grab the eye and run, grab the eye and run. So at that point, the other side, this thing can't move. We can go. And so they disengage and they take off. We at that point were actually at 10:30, and I had blocked out time from 8 to 10 for this session. And so, and the story was pretty cool. They were still doing stuff. So he said, hey, no problems. You guys keep playing. But once they decided, okay, we'll disengage or leave, we just kind of talk through the successful completion of the scenario, going back to their clan, showing them what they had, and that kind of thing. So while there were a number of rough spots in it with timing and that kind of thing, they played well. The combat with the idol went, I thought, well, not perfectly, but really well, I thought. It showed how much damage things can do and what happens when you get hit, and that Glorantha and Runequest combat can be deadly. That kind of thing. One guy got attacked at and he did a dodge, was completely missed. It was cool, the things I got to do. I pulled out my event report to make sure I had all the information I needed, and one of the things is feedback from the players and the store. So I asked, okay, hey guys, casting us for feedback. What do you think? What do you think about the game? And they all said, it was really a lot of fun. Even the girl who didn't play said it looked like a lot of fun. So I don't think necessarily that I'll be able to get them to coming to play regularly. That's my plan. I'm gonna do a bunch of these stealing the eye scenarios so people get used to the combat and how deadly it can be with some role play and the whole mythos thing and cult worship and that kind of stuff, initiates. And then my plan is to go on to doing the Broken Tower a few times. And I'm hoping to get out of those Broken Tower games, so people actually want to play, so I can start running the campaign that I've been starting to write. All in all, I thought a great session. It was kind of disappointing that nobody showed for the first one, but I wasn't really expecting a lot of results when there were like 4 people that were interested and nobody said they were going. C'est la vie. Well, anyway, happy gaming, guys.